Good afternoon, friends. Welcome to today's NGLCC Legal Industry Council webinar and matchmaking session. We'll be getting started in approximately 2 minutes. Thank you. Good afternoon to everyone joining us for today's NGLCC National Legal Industry Council Summer Workshop and Matchmaking webinar. We're thrilled to have you here. Thanks for spending your busy afternoon with us, especially those on the East Coast who are being battered by storms. We've received a few emails of folks who are without power right now and dialing in by phone. So welcome to them and welcome to you all. Just a few quick housekeeping reminders that we are recording this program for anyone who can't join us today, and that you should feel free to use the chat box function throughout today's conversation to share your questions and comments. We would love to hear from you. It is my pleasure to introduce our fantastic co-hosts for today, the outstanding Rob Finkelstein of Finkelstein Platt and Cindy Towers of Juris Solutions. I invite them on to say hello while we get the next slides and the deck set up here. Rob and Cindy, are you on? We'd love to hear from you.
Yep.
Everybody.
As we're getting
Welcome.
Cindy, would you mind telling a little bit about yourselves and your background with NGLCC and the Legal Industry Council?
Go for it, Rob.
Oh, I was going to say you go first. Okay. So yeah, my name is Rob Finkelstein. My law firm is Finkelstein Platt, and I'm located in New York, in the city in Manhattan. I practice commercial litigation, employment law, and construction law. I've been involved with locally NGLCC NY for, gosh, well over, I think, 11 years at this point. And I've been co-chair of the Legal Industry Council for the last 5 years. And locally, I served as the Supplier and Diversity Chair for NGLCC NY for 5 years. So I'm kind of well-versed in the world of supplier diversity, particularly as opposed to law firms and legal industry.
You've been an invaluable partner in this work, Rob. We're thrilled to have you. Thank you. Cindy.
Well,
our ally of the year and outstanding woman business owner extraordinaire.
So, well, thank you for having me. You know, as the story goes, Jonathan had me at hello. So I am a lawyer. I run a legal services firm, and yes, we are a certified women-owned business. So I've been involved in the diversity circuit for a while. But nobody was really focusing on legal. And when somebody on my team met Jonathan and I heard about the National Legal Industry Council and what you guys were doing, we were looking for an organization that we could support from the corporate side, because we have been so fortunate, being a woman-owned business and all the opportunities that have come to us, we wanted to pay it forward. And so we chose this organization, and it has been the perfect choice. So what we're doing here in the National Legal Industry Council is so exciting, and there's so much more to come on the horizon. So that's it.
Excellent. Well, thanks, my friend. And again, welcome to everyone who's joining us. We had wished we would had been doing more of these in person this year, as I think we all do. And for a lot of us, we had been hoping to have just been coming home with a fresh tan from Las Vegas from the NGLCC conference would have been last week, where we would have had one of these great meetings together. But we're here, we're doing it virtual, and it's going to be wonderful. A quick overview. Oh, and I forgot to say hello. I'm Jonathan Lovitz, the NGLCC Senior Vice President and the team lead for the National Legal Industry Council. My pronouns are he, him, and I welcome everyone here. Just a brief overview, as you see on the slides here. We'll begin with a little bit of an overview of who we are and what we do at the Legal Industry Council and Legal Supplier Diversity, this great new frontier that we're plowing through together. We'll have some great input from folks on the line. Among those joining us today are Adrian Fox from Novartis, as well as several other corporate partners who are on the line to give feedback as we discuss how the legal industry is now open for business with all of us. And then in the final portion of today's event, we're going to use the breakout rooms to do what we do best in the legal profession, which is create this great reciprocal referral network so we can better understand each other's practice areas and help one another succeed whenever we see or hear of new opportunities. So welcome aboard. It's going to be a great early afternoon together. So jumping right in, as we have a lot of new suppliers on the line here, and I want to thank you for taking time to join us today and for being a part of this NGLCC family journey. The NGLCC, as you know, is the business voice of the LGBT community, and for nearly 20 years, we have been the exclusive certifier of LGBT business enterprises in use throughout the public and private sector. LGBT BEs are working in every industry you can imagine, and we continue to break down walls and shatter glass ceilings together as we get more people in more industries like ever before, including law. I also mentioned that we host the NGLCC International Business and Leadership Conference, the largest LGBT business event in the world. But due to current circumstances, like everyone else, we've taken programming online and haven't skipped a beat. So I encourage you to make sure you're with us every week for Webinar Wednesdays. We have a great program tomorrow on, especially for those of you who work in IP and legal services that help folks with tangible products. We're talking with Target and several suppliers who have gotten goods and services, goods directly to store shelves through their certification. We're also going to continue to have our Sip and Pitch Fridays. For any of you who have joined us at conference, you know about our outstanding LGBT Biz Pitch Shark Tank competition with $50,000 in cash and prizes on the line. Well, we've made that a great positive feedback experience for suppliers like you to come pitch your business and get feedback from corporate partners. And that's just a drop in the bucket compared to all the other matchmaking and networking programs we're going to do all summer long. So stay tuned. If you're not already a member with us, or excuse me, not already registered on our website, please do go to nglcc.org and register on the front page for our weekly newsletter. So supplier diversity, we're going to talk a lot about it, but the simple answer is that seat at the table that we all hear so much about. Many of America's top corporations and now government agencies as well have set goals, used to be called set-asides and quotas, but now that they're goals and targets to make sure that every diverse community is being served. Because when you invest in a community, it is the most surefire way to ensure returns from that community, that we help create jobs and educate the future generational leaders about entrepreneurship and economic empowerment. So there is a reason that so many corporations have joined us, over 50 in just the last 2 years, one of which being the HRC Corporate Equality Index, which I know a lot of us look at when we're shopping, we're picking our favorite hotels and airlines. We want to see who has our back as a community. Well, now, corporations and law firms that have a procurement program must include our LGBT-owned businesses, or they cannot get that 100 anymore. So it's a great advancement piece that's helping us bring in fantastic new partners. For example, Jackson Lewis, the major law firm that just joined us this week. We're thrilled to have them. And they're wanting to be a role model for other firms, especially on the HRC index, was a major reason for them joining and wanting to work with our business community. So yet another new firm eager to work with legal suppliers. Additionally, the $1 Billion Roundtable, which is the brass ring, sort of the most elite of the elite groups for corporations who spend at least $1 billion every year on minority-owned businesses, now includes LGBT-owned companies, as well as disability and veterans. So they are looking for you, and we're always looking to be a solution to a problem, and they want to hit those benchmarks. So getting in front of these procurement officers is key to helping them achieve their goals with the BDR. And these are just some of the more than 300 partners NGLCC currently has. Lots of room for your favorite companies, and certainly your law firms, as we're adding more and more and more. If you have connections at anyone that you would like to get to, or if you would like connections to anyone you might want to get to know through their legal procurement or any other goods and services you might have to offer, let us know. We're happy to introduce. And more importantly, we are very eager to hear from you about your connections to major law firms, so we can get more big law getting on board with supplier diversity and working with all of our outstanding firms. A big thank you to, you already heard from one, you heard from Juris Solutions. Thank you again, Cindy. But a big thank you to our national legal partners. These are the firms and legal organizations that have joined us on a national corporate partner level and have really blazed a path forward for legal procurement, making sure that supplier diversity is just as much of an essential non-negotiable part of their operation as is any other diversity and inclusion initiative at their firm. So a big thank you to our friends at Galloway Johnson, who I believe have been with us the longest right from the beginning. Ackerman, Kelly Dry, Juris Solutions, our newcomers, Sil Cummins, it's great to have you with us. Elevate, Porter Wright, Jackson Lewis, at Collins and Richardson, which was the first ever certified LGBTBE law firm to be our Supplier of the Year. Congratulations to them. And of course, our friends at NAMWOLF, the National Association of Minority and Women-Owned Law Firms, which is another place where your LGBT certification can help you get into more opportunities with their network of corporate partners as well. I think we have several. I mentioned Adrian Fox from Novartis, one of our outstanding corporate partners earlier, just messaged to say, we lost power and internet due to the storm. So that may be happening to several of our partners. But Cindy, if you don't mind me putting you on the spot, love to hear from you about being a national legal partner and what it means to be able to work with our suppliers, because you've put them to work in your own supply chain.
Yes, we have. So we, on both the legal front and other vendors. So what we have our own supplier diversity program. I mean, we're a legal services firm, and professional services don't buy a ton, but don't let anybody tell you that means that you don't buy anything. And I think that there's a misconception that because you're not a manufacturer, you don't have product, that means supplier diversity is kind of meaningless, right, for your organization. Oh, nothing to be further from the truth. That's why I love to hear that folks like Jackson Lewis have joined us, because we buy, as professional services companies, everything. So every RFP that we have done, we have included vendors from this organization, which I'm sure you'll probably get into, but the Engagement Center, oh my God, rocks, totally rocks. You need something, you just click, 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 or pick up the phone and say, we're looking for, and they do the work for you and give you a list of potential vendors. And so we are represented by a law firm. I don't know if they're here on the call today, but oh, I see him wave. Oh yeah, there he's Lyman and Ash is the law firm that is representing us in a matter. And that came through this organization. Rob actually made that introduction for me. And our IT firm is out of Chicago, is also a winner of one of our RFIs. So
amazing.
And I'll tell you, the vendors are top notch. This isn't a charitable initiative by any means. They are the best service we have ever gotten. And I just hope we can get that message across to other legal services folks, because they'll see a lot of benefit in it. So.
It takes a village, or in our case, the village people. So we appreciate that, Cindy. And you really do. You walk the walk from the beginning, and it is so appreciated to have such an awesome ally. I believe we also might have Tom Prohl from Sills Cummins, who I believe is also doing double duty, as there's a National Bar Association meeting happening right now. 'Tis a season for a lot of meetings. Tom, I don't know if you're on and able to say hello.
Hey, John, how are you? Good to talk to you. Yeah, right now I'm on the board of the American Bar Association. So we're actually taking votes right now and conducting business. So I'm double dutying here, but I'm listening in, paying attention to my other duties there. But thanks for recognizing me. And I really enjoy being a part of the organization. Thank you for all your good work.
Thank you. And we're thrilled to have you and appreciate all your work, both with the bar and also as past president of the New Jersey State Bar. You really helped advocate for us on a lot of levels, and we appreciate it. And I think Damon Sutton from Kelly Dry, are you also on?
Yep, I'm here, Jonathan. Hi, how are you?
Great. Thanks for being with us and all your support.
Yeah, thrilled to be a national legal partner. I think we've been with you for, what, 4 years, 5 years maybe? Can't remember. But we're thrilled to be part of it and happy to be here.
Thank you so much. And I encourage you and Tom and any of our other partners that are on, forgive me if I left anybody out, please do chime in and let me know you're on. As we go through today's presentation, this is an open forum. This is a dialogue, this is a conversation. We want you to ask questions either in the chat box or, you know, hey, idiot, shut up, I want to ask about your slide. That's great. This is what it's all about. So as we press on, don't be shy. We want to hear from you. A lot of you are here because you're already certified, which is fantastic. Quick show of hands in the video. Who is LGBTBE certified? I love it. That is awesome. And Kashmir, thank you for raising your hand in the chat. That's awesome. Nancy, you too. Fantastic. So I encourage any of you who have questions about getting certified, even, you know, remember, one of the most important things certification does is bring visibility. We are a community that's not tracked in the census, that's not recognized in most federal and state data. So we have to tell our own stories. So when people say, oh, there aren't any LGBT suppliers who do what you do, or there isn't anyone in my town that could possibly do this work, we're proving them wrong, and we've got the numbers to back it up. So as we go into our networking sessions at the end of the program, I strongly encourage you to chat with those who are already certified about the benefits and hear about the unique ways, as you'll hear a little bit from Rob ahead, to be leveraging your certification to get new opportunities on the local level. Actually, speaking of Rob, using an example of NGLCC New York, where you could see Finkelstein-Platt there, Rob, might you talk for a little bit about our databases and portals at the local level and how people can really become that go-to firm where they are?
Yeah, sure, happy to. So, so as I mentioned, I was on the executive committee here in New York for 5 years. So, you know, I did that because I'm really committed to supplier diversity and whatnot. But also for me, it was a way to just, you know, force me to meet more people and more to network better within the New York community. So to that end, I mean, I encourage all the certified businesses to get out there, and whatever your local chambers are offering, go attend. You need to be there, you need to be present, just like any other supplier. And the thing to remember is all these other small businesses out there, I mean, if they don't have a lawyer, they probably should have a lawyer. So why not be that go-to person? That's kind of how it worked out for me, you know, because I was involved with the chamber very early on. So I met lots of people quickly, and I just became, you know, since I was always there, I was meeting people and getting introduced to people. And all these small businesses needed lawyers for all walks of life, whether it's employment law, you know, corporate issues or whatnot. So, you know, I've kind of become the outside general counsel to a lot of these small firms. And, you know, I think it's important because they're looking for those services. They want someone that they can, you know, who's going to do a good job for them. But more often than not, as it is with any community, they want to keep things in the LGBT community too. So it's really the best networking opportunity out there to just be local. And, you know, the fact that you're certified too just makes it all that more attractive, I think, to anyone who's a member of your local chamber.
Such a great point, Rob. And certified or not, your local affiliate chamber membership, and we've got more than 60 across America. Go to nglcc.org and find the affiliates tab if you don't know where the closest one to you is. They all have these databases like you see on the slides here. They're open to certified and non-certified members. And of course, we have the my.nglcc.org certified supplier directory, where I'm looking, and I just happen to see his face in the chat here, Aaron Klippinger from Apex Solutions. You know, if I ever hear someone say, oh my goodness, we're looking for talent, you know, where we need staffing, we need temp work, I'm not a lawyer, I just play one on Zoom, but I do know to go to the directory, and he, just by virtue of being a capital A Apex attorney, I always find him first in the list, and I've sent him to Cindy and so many other people just to make sure that we're spreading those opportunities around. So just a reminder to everyone, you know, we're all in this together, as we've all heard, and being that referral network for each other is really one of the most powerful things that we can do to support our fellow LGBTQ entrepreneur. Putting Rob back on the spot for a second as our NGLCC NY expert, you know, this is a bit of a slide about just taking advantage of all of those programs that we have available at the local level. And again, I encourage everyone to find their local chamber, because if you think we've got a lot going on at the national level, all 60 of these chambers around the US and the nearly 20 around the world are doing programming every single week on business development, networking, and getting your business full of new skills and new connections. So Rob, if you have anything you wanted to add about really just diving into these programs.
Yeah, no, I mean, I think it's just, just like anything else, it's important to be present, show up, go to events and network. I mean, in New York, we, pre-COVID, we would have generally monthly mixers, and that really was the best opportunity for me to just get out there and meet new people and whatnot. And those have continued on now, virtually on Zoom. So it's really been a great way to just network and meet more people. I think it's also important. In New York, we have a supplier database, which I believe is accessible to anyone.
Anyone.
So, yeah. So, I mean, there's no reason not to complete your entire profile, because people are searching. And that's true, I think, on the national level too. If you're certified, make sure your profile is complete, because there are corporate partners out there who utilize that also. And you're not going to be seen if you're not there.
Such a great point, Robin. We'll talk a little bit more in a few slides ahead about that complete profile that really does help you get the work. But I also wanted to mention, I think we've got several other folks at some of the large chambers around here. I see Jay Green from GGBA in San Francisco and others. What's great, you're all thought leaders and industry leaders. I'll tell you, our local affiliates are hungry for programming. So if you want to get your small business out there, your firm out there, offer to do a workshop on IP or employment law, or the things you didn't know about the Title VII case and its implications. All of that stuff, we're hungry for content at the local and national level, and it is your showcase to be a star. So definitely encourage you to take advantage of those opportunities when you see a call for programming. A shout out to Nancy Mertzel, who I think is on the line. Nancy, are you with us? I know you had some electrical issues. Hopefully you're safe from the storm. Let's see if we can turn your mic on remotely here. We may have lost her. Not to worry at all. Nancy, if you're here, give us a shout. We'll come back to you in a little bit. But this is just an example of some of the things that we do to help give some TLC and some visibility to our members. Nancy was one of our suppliers that participated in the NGLCC New York Life pitch event that we did several months back, where, similar to our sip and pitch events, it was a open to all, positive feedback experience where the firms could get to, and in-house counsel could get to know our firms a bit better. And so our firms could network with one another and get to share information and resources. Not only did she get great feedback, as you see here, but she immediately got invited to follow up, and she fills a key practice area that they didn't have someone on staff for. So this is what it's all about. Nancy's a great example of how you do this right. You get out what you put into being a member of the Legal Industry Council and of everything else at NGLCC. So we hope to see you, each one of you, featured as one of these profiles. And you might have noticed in the last NGLCC newsletter, and you'll
Thanks,
see.
Jonathan.
Oh, there she is. Hey, Nancy.
Got on. Sorry about the tech problems. We have no power here, so it's been a little tricky. But thank you for that shout out. I really enjoyed doing that pitch. It was really made my period there for excitement and just energy in terms of bringing that back to my practice.
Oh, we're so happy to hear that. Thank you. And I'm just curious, I know we want to be careful, make sure you save your battery on your phone. But I want to see if there's anything you wanted to share perhaps with your fellow suppliers on the line, maybe that, I always think one of the best things to say is, what's the one bit of advice you wish someone had given you in business before you got rolling? Either through your experience as a certified practitioner or your work in New York, what's that bit of advice you'd love to give to those on the line with us now? Did we lose you, Nancy?
I think really it's just reaching out to you.
Yeah.
Can you hear me?
Yep, there you go. Yeah.
Okay. I'm sorry for the bad connection, but the best advice I have is to reach out to people and sort of leverage the network that you have. I've gotten great input from you, from Rob, from Cindy, and people that I know, and that's been very helpful to me. And I hope to help other people as much as I can. So if there's anything I can do for anyone, don't be hesitant about reaching out to me.
Well, we appreciate that so much, and thanks for being with us. Stay safe. I see on the maps the storm is headed right your way in New York, so be very, very careful.
I just want to add in one thing about Nancy's accomplishment there with New York Life was really just tremendously great. I just wanted to just talk for 1 second about that event, because it was actually the second time that New York Life hosted a pitch event like that for us, which no other corporate partner has done. And we're hoping to replicate that with other corporate partners. But what was really extraordinary about both sets of those pitches, which one was done earlier this year and the other one I believe was either a year or 2 years ago. But it wasn't just some low-level person there. We had the General Counsel of New York Life. We had her top people there. And they gave, I pitched the first time, so I can speak from experience. They gave really great feedback. They were really open. They really sat and helped us brainstorm ways in which we can try to leverage our certification with other companies. They're really out there trying to help, and it's really a remarkable, amazing experience. So as the Legal Industry Council is able to implement more of these types of things, I really encourage everyone to do it, and not just the suppliers. The National Legal Partners are also invited, and there are ways of the National Legal Partners working together with certified law firms. So I just want to really inside the head, a round of applause for New York Life, and really just because that was an amazing experience. And hopefully we'll be able to do more of those. And again, I just encourage everyone to participate if that is once those become available to everyone.
Well said, Rob. Cindy, go ahead, please.
Yeah, no, he took the words right out of my mouth. We were both, thinking the exact same thing. And, Nancy, I had the privilege of being there watching Nancy present, and she was getting the feedback. She was pivoting in response to what they were saying. And it was just, we went for a drink afterwards, and I learned so much just watching the whole interaction. And it is value that as a law firm, I don't think you can get anywhere else. You can't read it in a book. You can't, learn it on the street. This was unbelievable feedback that they got. And, so many of you are subject matter experts, right? So don't feel, when I get the sense sometimes that when I talk to some of the firms, that you feel like, well, kind of a one-person shop, a two-person shop, what value can I bring? You bring tremendous value. Like Nancy brings a niche that if they had to go to, AmLaw 100 firm for that work, it would be 3 times the price. It would probably be some associate working on it. She brings such value, and they saw it right out of the gate. And so don't sell yourself short.
No.
Have the confidence to walk in that room and tell them what expertise you bring and what value, because their jaws were dropping when they were listening to her. They were like, wow, really? So it was great. It was great.
Thanks so much, Cindy. And Rob, thank you. And Nancy, again, we appreciate you always being such a rock star with us. Thank you. I think your future with us is just getting started. We mentioned, I mentioned earlier, so it's always, anytime we talk about LGBT issues, particularly in business, it always feels like we're back in 9th grade and reading A Tale of Two Cities, and it's the best of times and worst of times. We're under attack. Our community is pushing back and fighting back, but we're also thriving. Even in the midst of COVID, our businesses have been taking care of each other. We've been pivoting to repurpose our businesses to help others. And look what we're a part of. If all of America's 1.4 million LGBT business owners were represented, we are a $1.7 trillion force for good in this country. We create tens of thousands of jobs. And look at that graph where everything from mom and pop shops on Main Street, all the way up through massive multinational queer-owned businesses and everything in between. So remember that when anytime someone says, oh, I don't think there's a supplier that can do what I'm looking for at the right size or the right skills. We are in every industry, and we are an absolutely vital and essential part of this economy, which is how we became such an essential part of these supplier diversity initiatives. I'd mentioned that when we ran our NGLCC small business report back in 2017, we had at that point just 909 suppliers. Just 900 small businesses created 33,000 jobs. And these, like I said, are the ones we know about, which is why it's so important for all of us to be telling every other LGBT legal professional we know out there, get certified. We want to add their numbers and their rich history to our dialogue. And something else that I think is particularly cool, hands up for those on video, because it's on one hand, but what do you think the number is around what year your average small business fails at? 1, 2, 3, 4, or 5 years. What do we think? See a lot of 2s, a lot of 3s. Aaron's up there with a 5, and that's right. The average American small business dies around the 5-year mark. The average certified LGBT-owned business is 12 years old or older. I'm not saying we do it better. I'm just saying we do it better, y'all. We are a resilient community. We've had to fight our whole lives, and we put that same fighting ethic into our work, and it pays off. So this is all in a great report, nglc.org/report. I encourage you to read it. There's some great testimonials in the back from certified business owners just like you, talking about their experience, about what it was like before it was safe to be out in business, and how now being out and being successful don't have to be mutually exclusive. So I hope you'll take a minute to read it. We look forward to do an update on that report, as we've already, we're inches away from crossing the 1,500 supplier threshold. And as soon as we double things at 1,800 from the last time we did this report, I think we'll have a pretty exciting new set of data very soon to share with you all. But full steam ahead into legal supplier diversity. We are your National Legal Industry Council. You are all the National Legal Industry Council. We are a network of more than 100 certified LGBTVEs, as well as all of the other supporting services that go with it. I like to tell the story, and I say I never like to name names, but the firm I went to speak at was sounded like Schmilsbury Winthrop, and they handed me this tote bag after I did a big D&I presentation with them, filled with notepads and coffee mugs and all the swag, and it was all Pride branded and all, and they said, oh, thank you so much for being here. We hope to keep this discussion going. And I said, this is great. Did you get all this stuff from a local San Francisco minority or LGBT supplier? No, we got it on Vistaprint. So they kind of missed the point. But it let me remind them that literally every single thing you touch at your firms and in your personal business can also be diversity sourced. And that's such an important part, because you're then living that truth as a firm, but that also becomes part of your quality differentiator when applying for business with the corporations and other law firms who say, show me what you're doing and how our D&I principles match up. So our goals, which I encourage you to look in depth on nglcc.org/legal industry, is to do everything we're talking about today: expanding education, contracting opportunities, and deepening that well of possibilities with big law and with in-house counsel across the country. So to what I was just saying before, and I encourage anyone on here who's a supplier, whether or not you're in law or otherwise, to chime in and talk about the things that you have available for services to sell. But one of the things that we had to do was spell it out for the firms and spell it out for the in-house counsel that, you know, it's not just lawyers. Of course it is, but it's everything else. And we have helped place researchers and deposition specialists, and we have a certified LGBT court reporter in our system that we've sent out. And we have made referrals for all these folks, as well as temps and staffing and furniture and the printed swag and all of that stuff. So be thinking holistically on everything that you do so that we can make sure that the opportunities there are for everyone. This is a great example from our friends at Baker Botts, who we hope very soon will join us as a National Legal Industry Council partner, a National Legal Partner. They, on their website, as far as we can find, are the only big firm out there specifically saying, if you sell this stuff, we want it. So as many of you are familiar, there's portals at every major corporation, and you heard Cindy mention our engagement center, which is an NGLCC full-time staffed position where RFPs come into us, and usually with a very quick turnaround saying, we're Baker Botts and we need catering services for our offices in New York, Chicago, and Dallas. Who do you have? And we wham bam take care of that report, get it back to them, highlight recommendations, tell them who's bonded, who's got what practice areas, the whole 9 yards. There's nobody else doing that. So take advantage of the fact that NGLCC is the one who's out there in the market doing the heaviest lifting for you, the supplier. But we only know, as Rob mentioned before, what you have in your profiles. So as we talk a little bit later about capability statements, be thinking about what you have to brag about yourself with. Do we have every PDF about your firm in your profile? Do we have all the awards you've won and practice areas and geographies and all of your reciprocal bar admittances, all of those things we need to know in your profile so that we can help advocate for you. I was mentioning before about thinking holistically. This is actually a chart I put together for a recent conversation with the National LGBT Real Estate and Housing Authority. Similarly, they were saying, well, if we're just realtors, how do we put supplier diversity into work? I said, well, no one's just a realtor. You're advertising the houses you have. You're printing your pens and notepads and giveaways to your customers. You have an office that needs staffing. You have to build the homes and furnish them. You need the lawyers to get the job done. So it's a cycle that continues every year of making sure that we're all thinking holistically about everything that we have. I'm looking at the chat here. You've got folks. You've got many lawyers, you've got many IT and network development firms. I'm seeing people in the chat talking about training, consulting. This is what it's all about, integrating all of these services together into a ecosystem at your firm that really not only celebrates diversity, but puts our community to work. We're talking predominantly about for-profit corporations, private sector inclusion of our certifications, but a lot of you live in a geography near one of these places where our public policy department has won LGBT business inclusion. Each one of those cities in white, as well as many more in blue that are on their way, now accepts our LGBTBE certification for contracting opportunities. And especially as there are so many new back to work programs, small business recovery programs, there are a lot of city and state governments that are seeking lawyers to help people negotiate all the tricky paperwork involved. I believe, yep, shout out to Tampa. Thank you, Stan. I think Chris Costello from Seattle's on there. King County is there, which is a city that does a lot of work putting small businesses in the legal professions to work. So look at all these places. If there's anywhere on this map that you want connections to help find out how to navigate those public sector contracting opportunities, reach out to us. Our team is available anytime, and you'll always get me directly at legal@nglcc.org. I believe, if we've got tech working for us, that Adrian from Novartis is on the line. Adrian, can you hear us? Possibly, maybe. You might have to hit, I think, *6 to get off mute if you're there. I know you're on the line. Let's see if I can unmute you here from your phone number. Bear with us, folks. It's a brave new world. Adrian? Here we are. I think I got you. Adrian, can you hear us? No worries. If not, we'll come back to you. If any other corporate partners are on the line, please do wave your hand or come off mute and tell us. We want to be sure your input is here. We want to hear from you about what the buyers are looking for. This is all very top line. And actually, a lot of this information is synonymous with what we shared last week on a webinar about federal contracting. Now, don't worry, this is a lot easier than trying to get into a federal system, but the guiding principles are still the same. It's about you helping solve a law firm's needs, or also supporting in-house counsel with what they need. And the most important thing is always to lead with your strength. What makes your company the differentiator in the marketplace? The last thing to add is always your certification and your diversity status. That's the cherry and sprinkles on top. But you got to be able to deliver, and you got to be able to respond in real time to the needs of that company. Did I hear someone come off mute? I just want to make sure we have everybody.
Yeah, I came off mute. John, it's Kristen.
Hey,
Jonathan.
oh, we have Kristen Hickey from Twitter. Welcome.
How are you?
Excellent. Thanks for being with us.
No problem. I just, I don't have a ton to add. We're building our supplier diversity program, so we have a lot to learn from, and that's why we're here. We want to hear what other corporations are doing, and also the great work that legal firms in this industry are doing. So really excited to get through and hear a lot more information on that. I would just add around, if you're looking to sort of approach Twitter and other corporations like Twitter, understanding our business, for tech companies especially, they really like folks that do have tech experience. In the legal realm specifically, it is really important to have that kind of specialized experience or previous experience with other tech firms. And just really understanding the challenges that tech firms have around in the industry, and being a subject matter expert, and lead with what you're best at, and go from there.
Great point. Thank you, Kristen. We're so glad to have you with us. And for anybody who's following along and wants to be live tweeting about everything you're learning, at NGLCC. So as we continue on, Kristen, any other corporate partners on the line, feel free to chime in. This is all about just shared learning and best practices to help our suppliers get in the door. One of the things that we've done, and Kristen, you might remember from this coming up a lot in our procurement council meetings, is people saying, well, I need to know more about the firms to be able to shove them in front of my in-house counsel and legal procurement. Because as supplier diversity professionals, they're your agents, they're your champions, they're fighting for you to be in the room, but they're not the decision maker. So we help them by putting together, back in Q1, a list of all of our current certified legal industry suppliers as a PDF and a printed handbook, and we gave them out to all the corporate partners. So we'll be doing this again later this year for going into 2021. So a reminder to everyone to get your profiles up to date so you pull all the information. But this really helped us get more folks directly in front of the people who do make that decision. And just looking at this chart to the right comes from utility spend among the California Public Utilities, which was the first ever in the country to recognize and include LGBT businesses in a public sector way. And legal services are in the top 10 codes of what is purchased for the tens of billions of dollars that they spend every year on procurement. So do we, like I said, don't just be looking at the corporations, be looking at public and private sector together for these opportunities, and we'll help you get there.
Jonathan?
So, hey,
yeah.
Jonathan, can you hear me?
Hey, who's that?
It's Adrian Fox from Novartis.
Hey, Adrian, welcome. I think we've got you and Kristen on the line from the corporate end. Thanks for being with us.
Yeah, sorry, we had storms here, so everything's out, so I apologize I couldn't get in quickly.
No worries. We're glad you're safe and able to join. Anything you wanted to share top level about, we're just covering the ways that people sort of begin the process of getting in the door with a corporation. What's sort of the 10,000-foot view of Novartis legal procurement?
Sure. So hi, everyone, and thanks for joining. And thanks for having me. I have to say that I've been working with Novartis Legal now for about 6 years, and it's taken some time for people to even understand what supplier diversity is versus diversity matter staffing, which is something we're also working on, so you may have seen that in the news. But from a supplier diversity perspective, I think it's really important for the procurement people, the legal operations.
Uh-oh.
To understand.
You're back.
Oh, you lost me? Oh, geez, I haven't moved. I'm sorry. So I think it's important for the procurement folks and the legal operations folks to really understand it to the core and then build it into their processes and helping attorneys know that it's more than just firms that can help them, and that there's, you know, court reporting, there's trial graphics, there's litigation support, discovery, you name it. And then on top of it, the supplier diversity proposition that you mentioned, Jonathan, I did hear that, but then got dropped, was, you know, you can buy your office supplies and your IT support and your legal staffing from diverse suppliers. So there's so much out there that people probably don't think about yet. And it's something that I'm actually talking to a lot of our firms about now to help drive not just first tier where we can in the direct spend, but also getting second tier through some of the firms we are working with that are not diverse firms.
So well said. And we
can
really,
you hear me?
Yeah, we can hear you.
Okay.
Thank you. Glad you're safe. Glad you made it through Isaias safely today. And encourage you, I know you may have to drop off, but as we continue on, please do chime in anywhere you'd like to share some of the best practices and experiences. You've been at a lot of matchmakers with us, as well as at buying legal counsel, and have helped train a lot of legal suppliers to really get their foot in the door. So anything you wanted to share. Kristen, did you have something else you wanted to add?
I was just going to add, you had mentioned the California utilities. That was my previous world. Just to give people context, in California, our utilities spend billions of dollars a year with diverse firms, you know, across the board. PG&E in Northern California spends over $3 billion a year. So these aren't small opportunities. This is big spend. It's real. They take it seriously. And as a percent of their spend on average, the California utilities spend about 45%, 40 to 45% of what they spend with just diverse suppliers. So in terms of inclusive activities and opportunities, there's probably not an industry that takes it more seriously or that is so inclusive. So don't sort of set it aside as something that might be small. It's my only.
Absolutely. With a big caveat, that's a long lead to get there, but this is exactly how you do it. Meet the people who have the people who have the people to get you in the door. So
not a guarantee. It's never a guarantee, but it's, you know, I think sometimes it's even like as employees, we look to work for the big companies and we look for a certain stature, and sometimes it's the smaller to mid-sized companies that really represent the best opportunity, the best experience, and just widening your scope a little bit and being open to different businesses can only benefit you. But again, you have to lead and be the best at what you are, and you've still got to win the business. It's not a replacement.
Such a good point. And one of the biggest myths that I think everyone here should take away from this as a talking point as you're negotiating and coming into connections with our supplier diversity professionals and procurement buyers is, just because we're diverse, just because we're small businesses, we ain't small. And we're not, you know, we're not any lesser of a firm than anybody else. We're delivering big wins for big clients all over the country. The thing that makes us special is we can be nimble and dynamic and responsive to the marketplace, especially with some of the lower overhead most of our smaller firms have, which lets us also have creative payment processes and things like that. So, you know, leveraging what makes you the smarter choice for a corporation or a law firm is exactly what your capability statement's all about. You see the bullets here, you know, it all boils down to keep it simple. Just the facts. There'll be plenty of time when we do matchmakers, when you have, you know, when you're shaking hands, and well, when we shake hands again, when you're shaking hands and closing deals, you'll be able to talk all about the history of your firm and all the wonderful people who work there. But what they want to know is the examples. You know, there's a blank template on the left, and then a real example of a small woman-owned firm on the right. And it's just the facts. Here's what we do. Here's where we do it. Here's our codes. Here's how to get in touch. Here's the folks we've worked with. Thank you. Have a nice day. And one of the great things about this is, yeah, please.
Oh, Jonathan, I'm sorry. I can't see the slides you're on, but I wanted to add to something you said just a few minutes ago, that it takes persistence. And so I can just share with you guys that I've had suppliers that I met literally 8 years ago, and it took them 3 or 4 years to get their foot in the door. So you have to be very persistent. And you also really want to look at your marketing plan and say, okay, who do we want to go after? And keep at it. Make friends with procurement. Ask for someone to mentor you, whether it's obviously the NLIC or other organizations that you might be interested in. It makes a difference, because there's a lot of folks who have approached me at NAMWolf and other conferences that they're the ones now that I will take the time to really make sure they get the introductions, because they were really persistent and proactive. And that nimble comment that you made, Jonathan, that's everything, because right now, and not necessarily pertinent to legal, but just in general, any supplier that's nimble is going to be really important for us, especially during times of crisis like COVID. And ask for the special pay terms, because every corporation is doing something out there for you.
That's a fantastic point. Thank you. So, I also want to let everyone know after this event, in addition to the video recap, we'll also have all of these slides, links to these sample capability statements. All of that will be online and available for you. And we have throughout the year through the NGLCC Supplier Diversity team, we do regular workshops on how to build a good capability statement. We can pair you up with corporate and prime suppliers for feedback and mentorship. So, just as Adrian was just saying, be there, be persistent, and take advantage. We're here to help you. We're also doing the work of putting this information out into the public sphere, so it is easier than ever for our partners to take advantage of this. On the right, you see we work with NamWolf on a guide for helping corporations set up a strategic sourcing program and leveraging the best practices of supplier diversity. But on the left, you see what we offer big law firms, like, for example, Jackson Lewis that I just mentioned. We're sitting down and going through this whole plan of how really easy it is to build a supplier diversity initiative for a law firm. So as I mentioned at the top, if you've got connections with big law and want to see us continue to bring more and more of those big firms in-house, let us know. We'd love to get in touch with them. But these are also, particularly the NamWolf guide is publicly available and could be a really big resource for any of you who are going to conferences virtually and meeting with procurement officials who say, oh, I don't really buy law. I don't know that we do that kind of thing. Hand them this PDF, which of course we'll link to in our resource guide. And let them know it's quick, it's easy, and they've got help. And they've got lots of partners that will help them do it right. And as always, attend your legal industry council events. I think we all really miss being in person for a lot of these conversations, but we're going to do more like this throughout the year. In November, we're going to be doing a series of formal matchmakers where you'll submit an application in advance, and a slate of our in-house counsel and corporate law firms will be available to meet with you one-on-one for 10, 15-minute slots for real one-on-one business development opportunities. So now is the perfect time between now and the fall to be getting those getting those capability statements together, getting your practice areas figured out, everything that you need so that we could do that virtually before we return to the in-person roundtables and meetings and events like you see on the right. But we're always thrilled when we have major general counsel, like you see Kim Harris from NBC. We've had folks from United, Delta, SoCal Edison. We've had the general counsel and the CEO of Aetna join us for a conversation. So big folks with a big commitment to legal supplier diversity are paying attention to this, and they want to meet you. So I hope you'll all show up for us then. And it's networking. I think you've heard it from Rob, from Cindy, from me, from Adrian, from Kristen, and from anyone else you interact with at NGLCC. It only works when you show up and participate in the network. You're seeing a screenshot from our Sip and Pitch Fridays, which are just as much about the sip and the pitching feedback and the competition format of seeing great people pitch. It's also about the open dialogue of folks saying, oh, you're in Dallas, I'm in Dallas. We've not met at a meeting. Let's jump off Zoom and get to know each other and have our businesses connect. It's been so powerful for getting the word out. And fun fact, we've yet to have a law firm pitch on Sip and Pitch Fridays. Emily Murray, we just talked yesterday. I see you in that window. I hope we can get an application from you. But go to the NGLCC homepage and to apply to pitch. It's a great way to get your law firm in front of our corporate judges, and it'll be recorded. So you'll have a sizzle reel of your pitch that you can use in the future. So I want to pause here. We've covered a lot of ground. There have been some great comments in the chat boxes. And I want to encourage you to use this time while we're sort of all together here now to talk before we go into some breakout rooms and get to talk one another and build some of these great B2B relationships. Anyone have any questions? Anyone have any thoughts or comments on their experience in the legal world? I think we have a future lawyer on the line, it sounded like.
Sorry.
No problem.
Jonathan, this is Cindy.
Hey, Cindy.
Just a couple of things to tie up some of the things that Kristen said and Adrian said. Kristen mentioned something, to the effect of, understand the business, right? Understand what tech lawyers and what tech companies need. And I think that that's a really, really important point. One of the things that, a hole that people can fall into is trying to be all things to all people. You can't, right? I mean, no company can be. And once you start doing that, you're no longer a subject matter expert. So in the government space, when you look at CAPE statements, what they recommend is to put a mission statement at the top. And they tell you to go look at the agency. So you don't just have one CAPE statement, right? You tailor it for what the business you're going after. And so you take a look at the mission of that agency and see if there really is synergy there, and you really are, someone who can help them in their mission, and you put that at the top. And so you right out of the gate help them see that you understand their business and what their goal is. And then the same thing for your past performance. Do not underestimate past performance. People love to know that you did something for somebody who looks just like them yesterday, and that you were successful at it. So leverage that, talk about your past performance. And what other tech companies have you worked for? What other pharmaceutical companies have you worked for? What have you done for them? And so keep it simple, but keep it pertinent and very targeted, because oftentimes, and so as to a third point that was mentioned, you're not talking to the end user yet.
Right.
You're talking to an intermediary. So you've got to make it as simple as possible for them to go to their legal department to say, hey, I heard this, somebody's talking about, trade secrets, and it was something interesting I never heard our legal department talk about. What, you think they want to talk to this firm? It sounds like they're doing something pretty creative, that kind of thing. So be as targeted as you can and confident as you can in your past experience. So that's all I want to add.
Great point. Anybody else? Open forum. This is all about you all connecting. I think Raphael, you down there? Go ahead and unmute.
Hey, John. Hey, everyone. My
Introduce
name is
yourself,
Raphael
please.
Ortiz.
Yep.
My name is Raphael Ortiz. My pronouns are he, him, his. I am the president of Brock Consulting Group, which is a professional services company. We do IT, paralegal services, admin support, and sign language interpreters, mainly for the federal government, but also private. I just want to say it's awesome to see everyone here because, it's a different time and COVID, and we're all trying to figure out where to put our time, right? But what I liked, one of the things that John said earlier is that you mentioned, that we have this resilience that's part of our community, right? And one of the things that's helped me a lot is that, and I've done this a lot in past companies, in my past roles before I had my own company, and I think now people are starting to see it more. You cannot forget the human factor of it all. A lot of people are starting to realize that because of COVID, what's important, how can we truly connect? But you have these procurement people, you have these potential clients, you have networking people that are people at the end of the day, and they get bogged down with a million calls and emails. How can I sell you? How can I sell you? How can I sell you? So I think the focus point should be, the baseline is you're an expert at what you do, you're great, and you know what you're doing, and you can make a difference because you're going to bring that highest level of quality, right? But what we bring to the table and what you should focus on is, how can I connect with you as a person? Because when that comes first, now I know you, I know that you're genuine. Now I'm going to call you. And sometimes we got to remember that it's not just about doing the business right then. Sometimes you got to take the time to get to know that person, what keeps them up at night, and what their concerns are, because I may not be able to help you, but I can say, hey, you know what? You can call Eric Steiner. You can call Betsy Cerullo. Let me introduce you. And that's something that people forget is important, because that business now realizes that you were selfless enough to point them in the right direction, recommend somebody. And even if you never get business from them, they will recommend you because that was a genuine interaction.
Such a great point, Raphael. And actually, we've had sessions at the NGLCC conference before called, we don't do business with NICS codes, we do business with humans. and I think it's such an important point is, you building the relationship, building the trust, the bond with the people who are ultimately going to, again, be your advocate as a supplier diversity professionals. I think about Zaylor Stout is not just a great lawyer, he's also a published author. And I have recommended him for panels and things like that in the past. And it's easy to say, oh, we've got an accomplished, certified minority-owned lawyer, blah, blah. It's like, actually, I've got this really awesome lawyer who's also a great guy, who's also got a book. You've got a million things to talk about. Go talk about the book first and then figure out the work later. It's great when we can build those human bonds between people, because that's where the lasting memories come from. Like, Kristen Hickey is an excellent hugger. If you ever get to see her at a conference, and we do that in the future again, I recommend that you grab her and hug her, because it's one of those things where you just think, this is what it's about. It's, we're friends who are going to do business in the future someday. So great point, Raphael. Any other questions, comments, friends?
I'm now a little afraid to go to the next conference. Thank you very much, Jonathan.
Never ever be. So everyone knows we're now going to go, if we've divided the rooms up right, we should have at least one national legal partner, Cindy, Rob, or a chamber leader, or someone who has been